I was like, oh, finally we got a Frankenstein. That's hot. We were missing out. We needed that. We need this is our healing process and our healing journey.
A friend of mine made that comment about how the monster was really hot, and the amount of looks that he received after saying that. I was like, but it's Jacob Elordi. Like, you can't be mad about this.
Maybe it's the is he hot or is he just tall? And maybe he's just tall.
Hey there, and welcome to Takeout Talk, a new series from Cocina and Mecenas Media, where culture's always on the menu, even if it arrives in a paper box. I'm Xorje Olivares, and today I'm joined by a friend and frequent collaborator named Manuel Betancourt. Manuel is a Los Angeles-based queer writer and film critic who is now the assistant editor at Documentary Magazine. But his work has been featured in a number of publications, including Vulture, Esquire, the New York Times, and also the Los Angeles Review of Books. And speaking of books, he's the author of two of them. The first is called The Male Gazed, and the second, Hello Stranger. But because he's so steeped in entertainment and the film industry, I thought it made sense to invite him over to talk about holiday movies. Now, not necessarily movies about the holidays, but movies that are released around the holidays. So the ones that are usually in contention for awards like the Golden Globes and the Oscars. And with the Golden Globe nominations just having been announced, figured it was the right time to welcome Manuel to discuss movies that you've probably heard about, like Marty Supreme, starring Timothée Chalamet, and Begonia, starring Emma Stone, who is vying for her potential third Oscar. So a lot to discuss and a lot to eat. So very excited to welcome Manuel Betancourt to Take Out and Talk. So Manuel, I'm excited because you and I have had a chance to be in the same space with each other, at least over the past few years. You've now moved to Los Angeles. I'm in San Francisco. So we haven't been in a physical space together, but that's not keeping us from eating together. So glad that we could do that today, and also glad that we could share your perspective on holiday movies with our listeners today. So thanks so much for joining me.
Oh, of course. Talking about movies and eating are like my two favorite things to do. So doing them with you, it's going to be so exciting and so fun.
So it's a win-win. It's right
Yes.
before the holidays. It's a Christmas miracle. Look at us doing the things. So I want to start by asking you, what did you get a chance to order and bring with us today?
I went with my go-to when I'm doing takeout, which is one of the things that I don't know how to do well or make well. So I got butter chicken with rice and naan from this like Indian restaurant just around the corner from my house.
I love that perspective because that's typically what I tell myself is, what can I not make at home? And
Right.
spoiler alert, the answer is I can't make a lot. But but I can maybe do, a nice sandwich. I could maybe do some sort of chicken dish, but
Mhm.
I definitely can't do butter chicken. I can't make naan. I can't do the things that, to your point, so much easier to just support a local establishment and have it come to you first.
Absolutely.
And I'll say for me, I can't make a rice bowl. So I ordered this rice bowl from a place called Purple Rice here in San Francisco. This dish actually has purple rice. It has some
Hmm.
sliced beef. It has some veggies, cucumbers, pickled everything, cabbages, that's not a word, cabbage and carrots. And it's definitely one of those meals that my partner and I will look at each other maybe like once every other week and say, should we get that? So tried and true, know that this is going to be good. I've already taken a bite. It is absolutely living up to the promise of purple rice. So excited that, yeah, we could travel to these different places for our
Yes.
conversation today.
Yeah. I also, one of the things that I love about ordering Indian food is I know what I'm eating for lunch tomorrow.
Yes. Honestly, I feel like that's how we now determine our takeout. It's, is there going to be enough for tomorrow? Because I don't want to cook 2 days in a row.
2 days in a row. Exactly.
Now, I unfortunately have to admit that just because of the nature of life and the circumstances that come with being a grown person who has to do like day to day things, I have been pretty negligent with watching a lot of movies that are in contention for some awards this season. And the first is included in the list that you sent me for us to talk about today. And I'll say that this movie is one that I feel like I need to see sooner than later, which is the movie Marty Supreme. And I'm sure folks have seen some conversation about it over the past few months because it stars Timothy Chalamet, who's like the it boy right now.
Oh my
I
God.
don't know if there's another young male actor, with the exception of like a Josh O'Connor, who's also getting this much reverence as a young actor. So tell me, have you had a chance to see Marty Supreme? What were your immediate kind of takes from that?
Yeah, so I saw Marty Supreme a few months ago when because it had a secret screening at New York Film Festival, and they had a separate secret screening for us here in LA for us film critics. And it's one of those like you could feel the buzz in the room because this is a movie that it ostensibly follows Timothy playing this ping pong player, the most exciting sports of them all, a ping pong player who's driven to become the best ping pong player in the world, and that means going to like sort of these like world championship and defeating sort of these rivals. So it is kind of like a sports movie that we've all seen before, right? There's like training montage sequences, there's like championship, there's a nemesis, the moment where like will he hit it, will he not hit it, will he like succeed, and but on top of that, because this is directed by one of the Safdie brothers, who you may know from movies like Uncut Gems, that are sort of like anxiety-inducing panic attacks of movies. This one is sort of like a sports movie filtered through that same kind of sensibility. So like you spend the
Mm.
entire movie stressed out, and it doesn't let up, but in like a really enjoyable way. It really feels like at the end you're just like, what did I just watch? At every moment you're so engaged, and Timothy is such a magnetic, charismatic actor. I don't think there's anyone who's kind of like doing it like he is. Both a level like he has these like critical hits, but he also does like Wonka and Dune.
I forgot
So
about
he's
Wonka.
I think a lot of people forget about Wonka, but like, number one hits, singing and dancing Timmy, who did go to the performing arts, LaGuardia High School in
That's
New
right.
York. So it's rooted in there. Um, and so it's a fantastic stress-inducing movie that's both really easy to recommend because you're like, it's Timothy doing what he does best, and it has this moment of like art imitating life or life imitating art because he's playing this very driven, ambitious, kind of full of himself, narcissistic guy. And if you saw him accept the Screen Actors Guild Actor Award last year when he won for A Complete Unknown, where for playing Bob Dylan, that is the energy that he's bringing to Marty into the film, and sort of he's full of himself, and you've been seeing it also in the kind of like press splits that he's been doing. There's been a blimp flying around LA, like a giant orange
Really?
blimp, like a real blimp that says just Marty Supreme, because one of the key sort of visuals of the film are these like orange Marty Supreme ping pong balls that he creates and designs for himself. Like, so that's happening at the level of the movie, and it's happening at the level of the press, and it's happening at the level of Timothy, and so it's this like fascinating confluence. But it is a thrill ride of a film. Like the editing, it's frenetic, it's exciting. Ping pong guys, who knew that it could be sort of
Well, I feel like it's the second film in just as many years, 2 years, because we had Challengers last year, and
yes,
another. I mean, tennis. We're talking about table tennis from Marty Supreme, but like there there aren't many other sports genres. I don't know if that's the other thing to say, a sports genre, but like different types of sports where it really is that quick. Like some people
yeah,
do serves that are 100 miles per hour, and the speed in which some of these tennis balls go back and forth, even these ping pong balls, adds to the stress, right? Because it's like, oh my, this is going really fast. There's a lot of energy, as you're putting it, that's taking place on the court.
Yeah.
Um, so I can imagine as a viewer kind of following along with that. I'm curious because you did bring up so something that goes on, whether folks are aware of it or not, is there really is a huge political campaign tied to a lot of these releases, because in order to get nominations for the awards, in order to win the awards, you have to launch these campaigns like putting an orange blimp in the sky so folks know names of projects, the actors or the actresses tied to these projects, anybody who would be award winners when that time comes. And there is a lot of folks feeling like Timothy is putting his foot in his mouth because he is continuing on with this narrative of, oh, I know I'm the best in my league right now. I understand, because as you referenced during his SAG speech, he said he wants to be one of the greats. He wants to be amongst the Viola Davises, the Denzel Washingtons, the Christian Bales of the world. But that might not sit well with some people. Is that what you're sensing?
I think so, and it is so fascinating because it's one of those, like, we want you to be humble but not too humble, and confident but not too confident, and also, like, for men and for women it's so different. We want people to be demure, and we want people to be surprised that they're winning awards and sort of like be sort of so flustered, whereas he goes up and he's like, yeah, of course I won this. Like, what did you expect? Um, so I waffle back and forth between being so enraptured by the level of confidence that I kind of envy. I could never would never get emulate, and then being a little turned off by it. And then I get to the point where it's like I'm examining, like, okay, why am I put off? He's doing great, and he is very good. And maybe this is a bit, and maybe this is all like Marty Supreme, like maybe the Marty Supreme blitz
Mm.
started with last year because he was still like shooting. Also, I have to say, like, the orange blimp was Timothy's idea. So
There it
he's actually
is.
quite involved. Not, I don't know how much involved, but like he posted a few weeks ago, like a meeting that he had with the press team and the marketing team for the film with all of his ideas. He had like slideshows and presentations. And when he shared, what I love is when he shared his screensaver, or like his backdrop, was a photo of him winning the SAG award.
I could see that, like, using it as motivation, like, hey, I promised the world that my goal is to become one of the greats. I have to see that through. So
Yeah,
maybe he uses it to, I don't know, or maybe he just is really full of himself.
yeah,
But I do agree that at least he has the goods to back it up.
yes,
Every performance I've seen of his really does blow my mind, and it does remind me, like, man, when you really devote yourself to your craft, then you can excel as well as some of these actors do. Somebody who I've been following pretty much since she was around the same age as Timothy, if not younger, is Kate Hudson. Kate Hudson,
hmm
who was nominated for all the awards, won several awards when she was very young in the early 2000s for the movie Almost Famous, and kind of blew up after that. But she's getting a lot of awards buzz now for her turn in the movie called Song Sung Blue, which, in the grand scheme of things, not my favorite title for a project because it's very
it's so
hard.
hard to say.
I wonder if
So
people
hard to
think about
say.
that. Like, how do you say that 5 times in a row while promoting this movie? But it stars her, it stars Hugh Jackman. It is about a Neil Diamond tribute band from a particular era of time. What were your impressions of this movie and Kate, considering she's now nominated for a Golden Globe?
Okay, so I knew nothing about this weirdly titled movie, Song Sung Blue, which I'm told is a Neil Diamond song. I don't know this. I'm not a Neil Diamond
I was gonna
fan.
say we're of a different generation. All the love to
Yeah,
Neil, but
yeah, and also as they started singing those songs, I was like, oh, Sweet Caroline, I know that song. Could I have told you that it was a Neil Diamond song? No, that says a lot about me. It does not say anything about the movie. So all I knew was that Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson were playing this Neil Diamond tribute band who were real. So it's a real couple, a real tribute band, in sort of the early 2000s. And that was the extent of my knowledge. That there had been a documentary about them and that this was sort of like an adaptation. So I'm going into the movie ready to have this sort of like feel good indie movie starring Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson, by the director of Hudson and Flow, by the director of Dolomite Is My Name. So like I'm expecting this like really fun thing. And for like the first third of the movie, that's what I'm getting. Kind of like heartwarming. We get some Neil Diamond. At the beginning we meet Hugh Jackman, who is an impersonator, but he doesn't really want to be an impersonator. He wants to be like his own self, and he doesn't want to be doing Elvis. He doesn't want to be doing whoever else. And then he meets Kate, and he falls in love, and she's like, "You should be Neil Diamond. Like you can do that, and I can do that." And they fall in love, and then something happens in this movie that I will not spoil because I think you need to experience. I mean, you now know that there's something coming, so maybe you'll experience it differently. But I can't remember the last time a movie has like stopped me in my tracks and made me wonder out loud. I was by myself watching it in my living room, being like, did I just see that? Like, did everyone else? And I was like, I'm by myself, so no one else saw that. But it is a turn so bizarre, and the movie shifts tonally after that. That I just couldn't quite get over it. And maybe if I knew more about these real life folks, if I had seen the documentary, I would have been a little bit more inside. But I keep thinking, I was like, well, this is the movie they're selling, right? Like if you look at all these posters, if you look at all the trailers, they're really like, we're talking a lot about the movies, but also about the press. But like Kate and Hugh have been out there everywhere, and like happy and smiley, and like how much they love working each other. They're both fantastic actors. They're both doing their own singing, obviously, because they're great. Kate Hudson has not been asked to do this much probably ever in her career. Like, because I feel like she's fantastic and Almost Famous, but it's sort of like it feels effortless.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was sort of some of the joy. Like even something like Nine, which I love, and like her Cinema Italiano number is sort of fantastic. This is like she's doing some like serious acting. Like a friend compared her to like what Jessica Chastain was doing in The Eyes of Tammy Faye, which I thought was a put down. He was complimenting it, and I was like, oh no, she is doing that, but in like I don't think in a great way.
Is it this idea? Because I make note of this on some of the films that I'm watching with my partner, which is I say this is the role they thought was going to get him an Oscar, and it seems like just from the press, from the trailer, that this was designed to be Kate Hudson's vehicle to finally get the Oscar or whatever that she was owed all those years ago. So you're saying you kind of get that.
I get that a little bit. And it's like Focus Features, right? Who's like very story sort of production company. And, Hugh Jackman has come out and said like, this is the role that, Kate's going to win an Oscar for. And all of us are thinking, well, she needs to get nominated first. So
one step at a time, Hugh.
One step at a time, Hugh. And she is great. I just wish sort of a movie around her. And it's not that it's not good. It's just like I'm still processing. Like it hit me like a truck, and I've like not really recovered. But yeah. So it's hard for me to be like, you should go watch this movie. But I really want you to go see this movie so that we can have a conversation about this movie.
Okay. Not to say that I still won't watch it, but it definitely is lower on the list than this next movie, which I will admit I really don't know much about other than the actress who's the lead in this, Amanda Seyfried, is in the press as of late. She's winning a lot of people over. She's always been, at least in the post Mean Girls days, like the kind of person who, both in her professional and personal, like just how she is in the world, you're like, man, you're just a really good person and a really good actress. And I want to invest myself in you because you just deliver on all the things. So she's in a movie now called The Testament of Anne Lee, which so far every movie we've talked about has some sort of biographical tie to it. This
Hmm.
one is no less that. Like it is a historic. They're calling it a historical musical
Hmm.
drama. Um, tell me a little bit about the Testament of Anne Lee.
If you were going to buy stock in the Amanda Seyfried sort of portfolio, this is the movie to do it. I think like a lot
Ooh,
of us have been sort of behind Amanda. I think like we all love her in Mean Girls. We all loved her in Mamma Mia. Um, she's been doing great work, but again, I don't think it was until she was in David Fincher's Mank. She got her first Oscar nomination for that. I don't think a lot of people were thinking of her as this like dramatic actress because she does a lot of comedy, she does a lot of musicals, um, and also famously had really campaigned hard to be Glinda in Wicked. Like I think rumor is like she got really close that it was probably like Ariana, Amanda, or maybe it was like she was like a distant second or distant third,
yeah.
but like she was clearly she's talked about how she had worked for that, she had really wanted to. And so it's fascinating that she's arriving with this musical that makes such great use of her talents. I don't think you go, oh, I'm going to create a movie about Anne Lee and the Shaker community that fled England to start their own religion slash cult in upstate New York and think, you know what this needs to be? A musical. Like, I don't know who comes up with that. And it's not a
Who's in the
musical.
boardroom
And
like, this could use some song and dance?
yeah, yeah. And, it's credit to Mona Fastwald, who directed it and who was also behind The Brutalist last year, directed by her husband, Brady Corbet, uh, for, for really, if I talk about this movie, it just sounds insane. It sounds crazy because Anne Lee was, this woman who was so devoted to her faith uh, that she decides that she is going to give up sex with her husband, who is played by Christopher Abbott. This is how committed she is to her.
He's so handsome. For those who don't know,
He was in Poor Things. He was in Girls. He was just in The Wolfman. Like, just look him up. He is a gorgeous man. So you just know how committed Anne Lee, sister Anne Lee, was to sort of her faith and to believing that like you really had to cleanse yourself from the sins of the flesh in order to really be accepted into the kingdom of heaven. And throughout all of this, there is song and dance. Not song and dance like sort of like razzle dazzle, but there's movement choreography that's actually so evocative and so nicely period. So that the movie sort of hovers between this like really naturalistic cinematography and acting, and then this kind of like whimsical, ethereal, like really earthy and grounded movements, dance numbers. And at the heart of it is Amanda Seyfried's voice, that it is so angelic and you can feel the heartache and you can feel the faith and you're like, yes, I would follow this woman across the continent and almost die during those travels and build a church and a compound, sort of this place in upstate New York, because she's just so captivating. And so I know that what I'm describing sounds horribly bizarre and sounds horribly out there and not a lot of stuff that we've seen there. Like, this is not based on a Broadway show, this is not based on a novel, like this is not sort of, you haven't seen something like this before. But I always appreciate movies that really know what they are, and that sort of know the tone that they're trying to hit. And I think if you can ride that wavelength, you really enjoy this. If you're already like itching because you're like, oh my God, they're going to start dancing in the middle of the ocean while they're on a ship,
mhm.
this is not for you. But there is, of the three that we've talked about, I think this and Marty are sort of like, they just are so quintessentially cinematic. And I think they really deserve to be seen on the big screen, surrounded by people, and to really sort of enjoy and sort of be captivated and sort of see Amanda Seyfried. It's gonna also be released in IMAX, so it's in 70 millimeter. So like
Oh,
you just really want to see it, like in the biggest screen that you can.
Now, I feel like a lot of what we've gotten a chance to enjoy in the course of this conversation is actors that we know are going to deliver, that we can kind of like bet good money on, that if we were to pay to see them in a film, particularly the films that we've listed, that they're going to provide a pretty great performance. I will say I have no idea about anything having to do with this next film called
Hmm.
No Other Choice. The only thing I know is that the lead actor, who's getting a lot of praise, is the antagonist in Squid Games, at least
Hmm.
the latter seasons of that show. What can you tell us about No Other Choice?
How to talk about this movie without spoiling a lot? Because uh, it's a fascinating premise. It's also very timely because it begins with layoffs. Something that I think a lot of us are
Mm-hmm.
witnessing, know firsthand, and sort of what happens when you're devoted your entire life, in this case, to sort of this like paper factory, a paper company, and they lay you off. And some people would just like find a new job, uh, or try to get another job at another paper company. And this particular person decides that the way to do that, the way that he would be able to sort of get another job at a paper company, is to get rid of the people who would also be applying for that job so
Oh
that
my
he's
God.
but that's where the movie sort of begins, and then it sort of spiders out from there. uh, but it kind of becomes sort of like this like murder comedy, labor relations comedy, where like clearly no CEO is safe because it's clearly playing with that kind of like class warfare that we've seen. And Parasite will obviously be like sort of the very obvious comparison, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of in that kind of spirit. We've seen a lot of those films, like we saw The Menu a few years ago too, that like they're really playing with like, if we all could, wouldn't we all just get rid of these corporate greedy capitalist CEOs who are just making all of our lives worse? So but again, very labyrinthian, very funny, very twisty and turny, in like the best films of this year. Like truly walking in its own lane. It's you really don't know where it's going. That's why I don't want to even talk more about the plot, because it is sort of more about the excitement of seeing where it's going.
Okay. I'll say that when I was doing some little research about this particular movie, since it was the one I had not heard of, that it is not necessarily a remake, but that it is based on, it is an adaptive work. It is based off of something else. So this is, this kind of IP, this intellectual property has already been out there, but it has been repurposed into this film that's getting a lot of attention. And again, particularly with this actor Lee Byung-hun,
Hmm.
who also was nominated for a Golden Globe, and this is seen as the potential entry for South Korea for best international
International film,
film.
yeah.
I'm excited. The one that I'm not that excited by, and I'll just die on this hill, is the new Avatar movie, because I did see the second. I've seen the first two that have already been released. The first one, if you can believe, came out 16 years ago. Which, how are they still making all these films? And there's still two more to come, supposedly. Um, but how should I change my feelings towards Avatar: Fire and Ash?
I don't know if I'm going to convince you. I don't know if I'm the person to do this, but I will say, so I watched back in 2009. I watched Avatar. I had a great time. Have I? Did I think of Avatar after at all? No. I watched Avatar: The Way of Water. I enjoyed it. Did I think of Avatar: The Way of Water the moment I stepped outside of the theater? Also no. I walked into Avatar: Fire and Ash first of all being like, I don't think I can name three characters. Could you? Like,
No,
I
I
don't.
could name the actors, but I
Right.
have no idea who they play.
Right. And so I was very skeptical, and so I was like, I don't even remember what happened. I don't know who these people are. I know Kate Winslet is in it. I know Sigourney Weaver is now playing a teenager. I forget why that happened.
Huh.
She's playing like a Navi teenager who is like a clone of her own. Anyways, James Cameron. can direct an action sequence like no one else can. Like watching this movie makes you wish he were actually making other kinds of movies. Because I want him to be doing and using his gifts for like movies that I'm actually excited about. But the moment an action sequence starts and the moment he's using all of this like beautifully artistry of 3D technology, of like modeling and character design and production design, when he's using that to really put you in this like exciting moment of like, are they going to die? Are they going to live? Like, he is great at that, right? If you've seen Titanic, if you've seen True Lies, if you've seen Terminator, like he is the person to give you a sense of how to direct a great action sequence, because he knows that he needs to let you know where you are, who is here, what is happening. He's not one of those like, I'm going to chop everything up and you're not going to be able to know what is happening. And that all of this stuff is that there's no sense of physics and there's no sense, a lot of these Marvel films, a lot of these other like recent blockbusters have no sense of physics, right? Like
At
just like
all.
people are like flying and like this is, even though like all of it is basically 3D animated and sort of rendered, there's a weight to it. And so I always walk away from them, even if I never think about them again. I'm just in awe of what he can do. This is, could I tell you the plot of this movie right now if there was a gun to my head? Probably not. There's another, there were the forest people, and now there's the water people, and then now there's like the fire and ash people who are like kind of bad because they've become aligned with the humans or the earth people who are there to terrorize Pandora. I think maybe I will say Una Chaplin, who is playing like the leader of these like fire and ash people, she's blowing everyone out of the way of water in terms of her 3D motion capture performance. And Zoe is doing great work. Sam Worthing, like it's sort of like I can admire it. I had a great time. I always think of them as like roller coaster ride movies, right? Like you're, oh,
Hmm.
it's so exciting, so, and then you leave and you're like, okay, and that's fine. And I think
Hmm.
it's also one of those like you really have to see it in a theater. Avatar does not work on your phone, on your iPad, on your, I mean,
That I could agree with. I think the first time I saw it, we thankfully were able to watch it on the TV that we have here. So I wasn't fully immersed, as I'm sure folks were during that when it was first released all those years ago. But even until you said Pandora, I had forgotten that that's what it was called. Like that's how invested I am in the Avatar storyline. Um,
yeah,
but to your point, as a lover of culture, as a lover of entertainment of film, I can appreciate what James Cameron has done in terms of the mastery of something that a lot of folks were just completely blown away by. Again, almost 20 years ago, the amount of technological advancement that was incorporated into that first film and is still incorporated to the films today. Um, but if you're telling me, "Hi, this ticket's going to cost you $20. Are you going to watch Avatar: Fire and Ash tomorrow?"
maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe the funny thing is, I would give it more to Marty Supreme and to
Oh,
watch Ping Pong than this like master of cinema James Cameron doing his
yeah,
thing for the third time with this particular IP.
yeah.
What just okay? So if we went through several films, and I'm
Hmm.
very grateful that we had a chance to kind of talk through them in a bit. But what would you say in these next few weeks that folks have before we return to like holidays are over, won't have that much time anymore? Would if we really had time to devote to at least watching two of the ones we talked about today, which would you say you would recommend the most?
I kind of want to recommend Testament of Anne Lee because I feel like it feels like a hidden gem. I feel like it's not talked a lot enough. I think it's sort of odd and quirky, and I want as many people to watch it, and I want as many people to sort of like see what Amanda Seyfried is doing in this film, and be as upset as I was when she kept rebuffing Christopher Abbott on screen, and I just kept thinking, "What are you doing?" Uh, so Testament of Emily, and I think Marty Supreme as a sort of like again as a theater experience. Timothy's fantastic. Gwyneth Paltrow is great in this. Odessa Azion, I think that's her name, is fantastic. If you've been watching I Love LA on HBO, she's in Marty Supreme, and it's so great. So those would be the two. And I'm giving you sort of like, I don't want to be like, this is the boy movie and this is the girl movie, but they're almost like the boy movie and the girl movie. So you should watch both.
Oh, okay. to kind of work with both sides of the brain.
Yeah.
Definitely go see both.
A musical and a sports film. So like, that's what else do you need for the holidays?
Yeah, I was thinking about this because your most recent book, Hello Stranger, it references a movie that was also released around the holiday time. I guess now 20-ish years ago, right? Closer.
Yeah, 21 years ago. It came out December 2004. Not that I have that seared into my memory, but yes, it is not a holiday movie.
No.
But I don't need an excuse to watch it. I will just watch it any day.
Well, this is my not so subtle way to bring up the fact that, again, you are the author of two books, The Male Gazed and Hello Stranger. How can folks support you by either getting these books or kind of reading the work that you're doing today?
Yeah, you can buy both The Male Gazed and Hello Stranger wherever books are sold. You can go to that big corporate conglomerate, or you could find an independent bookstore to support. You can also buy directly from my publisher. Also, Hello Stranger is coming out in paperback in January 20th. So if you're waiting for something that's a little bit more comfortable to have at the beach, at the pool, on the subway, just at home, you can do that. And then you can find me online. I'm at bmanuel on Instagram and in that other website whose name we shall not utter. But I'm
I love
no
that
longer,
we're all in alignment about like, let's not even call it by its name now.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to remind folks that you can see what we ordered to eat today by going to the wearecocina.com website. You should also be able to find us on socials at wherever you look at social media at We Are Cocina. And you can follow me on social at Xorje O, Xorjeo. But Manuel, thank you so much for sharing your insights on these films and for reminding me that I need to get my ass into a movie theater. And that Pandora is the name of the planet?
I want to say yes. I want to say they're one and the same, but I clearly don't know.
You know what? Maybe we were never meant to know. That's just how it is. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Takeout and Talk is a Cocina and Mecenas media production. It's hosted and produced by me, Xorje Olivares. Special thanks to Mecenas Chief Creative Officer, Sarah North, and its Head of O&O and Audience Development, Laura Del Progetto. For more Takeout and Talk, visit our YouTube page or wearecocina.com.